Is recorded live with the men and women of law enforcement. All suspects are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Now, here's your host, Iredell County Sheriff Darren Campbell.
Bad boys, bad boys.
Well, everybody, welcome to the... Well, hold on. I got a question for you, Bill. What time is it?
It is 3 o'clock.
And what's that mean?
That means on Wednesdays, it's the good, the bad, and the guilty on WSIC.
So that's right. And let everybody know, obviously, I'm Sheriff Darren Campbell. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you being here. We're going to have a fun show today. I'll introduce our guests in just a second. But as always, listen, you can watch us and listen to us on 100.7 FM, 105.9 X, Facebook Live, the WSIC app. And you can also listen in the, a lot of people may not know, but 1400 AM.
1400 AM was a blowtorch back in the day, and it still is now. You can get 1400 everywhere.
If I told my kids now 1400 AM, first of all, if you even show them radio, you could adjust, they wouldn't know. So everything is either apps or right. XM or something like that.
Well, the sound quality is much clearer.
It is. And you can choose. I mean, there's no use waiting until what comes on to listen to it. You get to pick what you want.
That's right.
So.
That's right.
But I do. Commercials? Absolutely. But I do want to say thank you for everybody joining in. And like I said, hey, send us comments. We got our Facebook, Bill and I both, or at least I've got mine up. Bill's slack on the job.
No, sir. Mine's over here to the side.
Okay. And send us a message. We'll look at Facebook. And Bill, we got to say thank you to our sponsor. If you want to read off about Harrison's.
You know, we do. And one thing I do, and if you're new to the show or if you're a longtime listener, go to Harrison's Facebook page. I looked at it just a little while ago, and they have, like a lot of other people, they have used the app where it's kind of the cartoon version of people. But go down there, look at their Facebook page, and you'll see all the wonderful folks that actually work there. And it gives a little profile, gives their name, gives a little profile of what they do at the business. But the good, the bad, and the guilty is proudly presented by Harrison's, from the job site to the rodeo to the backyard hammock. And if anybody goes outside today, it's almost hammock weather.
It needs
Not
to
like
be warmer.
2 weeks ago when it was
warmer.
stupid cold.
Warmer. Needs to be warmer.
I'm
ready for 85.
But it's going to be colder this weekend.
Really?
Anyway, back to the hammock. Harrison's has you covered. They're the Southeast leader in Carhartt and Ariat workwear, and nobody, and I mean nobody, has more in-stock work boots. They can get you ready to go boot scooting from Western favorites like Cinch, Rock and Roll Denim, and Wrangler. Visit their Mooresville location or shop online at harrisonsusa.com. Harrison's, for home, for work, for Western, and wow. And they got an awesome Facebook page. Go check them out. They really do. They got a lot of stuff down there.
And I'll tell you, go down and see the store. I say this about every week, or at least every other week. There's not a lot of businesses, a lot more, but Harrison stood behind law enforcement and public safety for years and years, and they're very good to work with, very good to deal with, and we cannot say thanks enough again for sponsoring the show, because without 100%. them, we may or may not be here.
And CJ may or may not be able to push the buttons over there. I don't know.
Yeah, may not be able to pay the power bills, shut us down, have to take the dog to the shelter. Okay, just kidding. We don't have a dog.
Let's not get carried away.
So, all right. Well, thanks. And our segments, you're sort of going to look at our segments has sort of changed a little bit. You may or may not notice, but when we take our breaks, some will be a little bit before, and some's going to be a little bit longer. So, Bill, before I introduce our guest, and I want to say that probably 3 months ago, we was 2 months ago, let's be fair, we was trying to think about who all we've had on the show. We've had our senators, we've had House reps, had NC House and NC senators, SBI, Wildlife, Highway Patrol.
U.S. House, we had Mr. Harrigan here, or Congressman Harrigan not too long ago.
Executive Vice President Eddie, President Association,
Caldwell.
had Chad Pennell here last week, I believe last week. Sheriff in Alexander. So we said, who have we not had that we work with? Well, that operates in our same realm, I guess.
Kind of the sphere.
And even though it's sort of a love-hate relationships, not us, of course, me and Bill like it. Right. But anyway, is law enforcement and defense attorneys. And I was trying to think of somebody that I knew that now was, and this was prior to the changing in, and I'll just go ahead and say it before you file for judge. So this was preset. You had asked us. So anybody's welcome to come on the show that'll reach out. We scheduled this. Martin wanted to come on the show. So this is not so much to say, hey, here's who you vote for. This is more or less just, it was pre-planned, and we didn't want to change our schedule. So So I want to introduce you, Martin Gottholm, defense attorney now, but I want to read, Martin, a little bit of thing about you, because just for the record, you're a lot older than me and Bill, just for the record. We always gouge about that. Sometimes we get young ones and we don't. So, but in 85 to 89, you earned your college degree and you attended Army Flight School. In 1986, you was an Army Military Flight School helicopter pilot. I do remember that, and in 93, you graduated Wake Forest Law. And then from 95, and I'll skip a little bit of it, but you was private practice. 95 to 98, you was assistant district attorney. And that was here.
Exactly. Yep.
I remember that was in my, Bill and I both early days.
Yes, sir.
And then in 98 to 2002, you were a district court judge.
Ran for the bench and got elected.
And I'll go ahead and say that now. You have filed once again for judge.
I have.
And there again, I'll stress this again. Anybody who wants to run for it is more than welcome to come on the show. This just have to be pre-planned.
100%.
And from 99 to 2017, which I always thought was super cool, and I don't give Martin enough credit. I've always told him thanks. I think we all owe him a thanks, as well as our other troops.
That's right.
But you was in the Army National Guard as a Black Hawk instructor pilot. So if you're an instructor, you served and flew a Black Hawk. You did 2 deployments in Iraq in 05 and 11, and 2014 in Afghanistan as a pilot for the U.S. State Department. So it sounds like job well done. We all owe you a thanks from our country and all veterans and everybody that serves. So with that being said, thank you.
You are more than welcome. I enjoyed it. It was a privilege and honor to do that for our country.
So now you've done that. You've been in danger, shot at, hospital. Now you're really in the battle, and that's the political field.
That is a minefield. In some ways, it's easier to be over in a combat zone because some of the lines are more defined.
Well, and I will say this, we've got some good candidates up and down the lake. We do got some very good ones, and, so there again, it's I wish you luck. I wish everybody luck. But so I guess, Bill, really the thing is, Martin, tell us a little bit about yourself in your own words. We bragged about you, but now what you've accomplished and your family and where you're at now.
Sure. So when I got off the bench in 2002, I was in the Guard. You knew it was coming up because they show up at your unit and they start putting on additional equipment on your helicopter. And that's the first sign. So I could have started law practice for a year and a half, but I realized that wasn't feasible. So I actually flew for Baptist Hospital for about a year and a half.
I was thinking you was a medical. I thought that earlier.
Yep. And I always tell people 2 weeks on that job makes you happy, you're healthy and alive.
Yes, sir.
Because
100%.
we sweat small things in life, but some of those scene calls. And I came here to Iredell, Alexander, pick people up, bring them back to Baptist, the Level 1 Trauma Center.
And Martin, let's say this, and sorry if I should say Mr. Gottholm or Candid, but to break it down, people, when you're talking about basically a life flight, the ones that you see that lands in the middle of the interstate, transport patient, nurses, doctor, respiratory therapist, and a patient.
You bet.
You're the guy that lands on top of the helicopter, comes out 24/7 to pick up those that are tragically and injured in anything. So you're the guy that you see the life flight.
EMS comes there and they realize how serious it is, that whole golden hour philosophy. And then they call us up and you're right, 24/7. I'm sleeping at 3 a.m. at the hospital. We had our own pager goes off. Everyone gets up, the paramedics that fly in the back, who I have amazing respect for. And then we launch the helicopter and come out and fly and land somewhere and transport.
I'd like to fly with you, but that's not the circumstances I prefer to fly with you.
No, absolutely not.
No. So so I did that, and then the deployment. So 2005, went over to Iraq. We were there about 13 months. Came back and took just a little bit of time off, and then started my own law practice.
Martin, if we can, let's push pause right there. We got about 15 seconds left. Ladies and gentlemen, just want to thank you for tuning in today to The Good, the Bad, the Guilty. We have Mr. Martin Gottholm with us today as our special guest. Tune in and learn some more about this gentleman and his career here in the criminal justice system. Thank you for taking your time today. CJ, thank you for making my Wednesday. I don't know if you can hear it, Mr. Gottholm, because the speakers aren't very loud, but if that's not Alfred Hitchcock, police, detective, investigator kind of music, I don't know what is.
And I'm going to file a complaint with our show prep team.
Yeah, there you go.
Bill gets that Alfred Hitchcock movie. And then the other week we had,
I have my own button.
you know, I better not make fun of CJ who's running the soundboard. It's hard to tell what we'll come back from the next break with.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much again for taking your time to tune in today to The Good, the Bad, and the Guilty. Hope that today's a very informative and informational day for you. We have Mr. Martin Gottholm with us today as our special guest. As Sheriff Campbell has already said that we had Martin scheduled for a couple months now to come and be our guest today because of him having worked in the prosecutor's position, the defense attorney's position, and as well as a judicial position. You get to bring a lot of different nuances and see things from multiple views. So we'll get into that here in just a little bit. But before we left, or right as we were leaving, you were talking about your career as a pilot. And one thing that I have to ask, you said you flew for the State Department in your capacity as a pilot during Iraq. And if you can say, because I know some of that stuff you're sworn to secrecy not to say, but who would be the highest personality or the most influential person or the most important person, I should say?
Rankings. There you go.
Thank you. That's what I'm looking for, Sheriff, that you got to fly in Iraq.
Sure. So after I returned from my first deployment, so 06, practiced in law, got 2 paralegals, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're going to go on your second deployment. And
so you were voluntold.
Yes. Well, you know, when they come down,
Yeah.
and if you remember the movie Stop Loss, they actually, in 05, you can't get out.
Right.
Stop Loss, you're not getting out. 2011 wasn't that way, but I stayed in the unit. A lot of guys get out, and after that first experience. So I've got my law practice going, 2 paralegals, everything's good. So I joined up with a couple of attorneys to keep my practice going for when I got back, and went over in 2011, and we were assigned, our company, to fly the 3 highest ranking generals in the country around. So I flew the 4-star with my company commander,
Wow.
and that was Lloyd Austin. He was the 4-star commanding general of the U.S. forces in Iraq. And I got to fly, Admiral Mullen came over, the little short guy, Secretary of Defense, Leon Panetta, came over to try to negotiate some enduring bases, unsuccessfully as it was. And then right at the end, Joe Biden comes over.
Bless his heart.
Yeah, that was fascinating because I'll tell you an interesting story. We've got 2 birds. I'm going to fly Biden and his entourage, Secret Service in the second bird. They're going to pass us in flight from Baghdad International Airport to the Green Zone, which is where the U.S. Embassy is. And 5 minutes before he's landing, I bring the power control levers back and my lights all go off. So we have a cranking spare sitting 100 feet away with pilots. They pull around. His plane's just about to land. Pull up to ours. We switch out the machine guns. Crew chiefs hop over. Pilot hop. We hop into the spare helicopter, and we're ready. So Joe Biden hops on board. We fly him to the U.S. Embassy. He makes his speeches about a safe, sovereign, stable country. Thanks, folks, and we're gonna leave it there, and that was it. So
Well, I'm glad you remember because I don't think he does.
well.
You're a little slow. Okay, I probably should have made that joke. But anyway.
When I tell that story to veterans, I say, and there was a Medal of Honor. Remember Purple Heart Homes had something, there was a Medal of Honor, and I told him that. He goes, why didn't you crash the helicopter? And I said, well.
Yeah, that's a bad thing about flying. If it's the pilot's time, it's your time too. So I just assume.
That's right.
Well, that's an honor. I'm sure that there was a lot of stress with that, and not only that, being entrusted with that mission.
It was amazing. We had a phalanx of security from that short hop. Task force guys and helicopters, Predator overhead. It was amazing, the bubble of security we had to fly him there. So it was an honor. It was fascinating. Came back in 2011 and then just started my law practice, you know.
Well, and now, you know, you're talking about coming
Continue.
back, and you've got, this wasn't even going to, you got young kids.
Yes.
So like I have when I run for the office, you've got young ones in a family.
Yep. So practicing law with my partners, everything was going fine. And then we had met some people over in Iraq that were flying for the U.S. State Department. A lot of people don't realize State Department has a big aviation wing. So next thing I know, in 2014, I get a call from someone down in Florida. And they said, Mr. Gottholm, you still interested in flying for the State Department? I said, yep. So I told my partners, I'm going to leave again for a year. So I went over to Afghanistan this time, in Kabul, Afghanistan, and flew an old Marine helicopter. The State Department had gotten all the CH-46s, which are like a Chinook, tandem rotor, but Vietnam era. Once the Marines got rid of them, once they fielded their Ospreys, right? So all these State Department pilots, most of them were former Marines or Marines, and that actually a lot of them flew the HMX squadron, which is the Air Force Two. right? So a lot of really good pilots. So flew in Afghanistan for a year. It was a great job, great contract. We were doing DEA, State Department, flying folks around. They did not want to travel by car over in Afghanistan. And then came back and right back to my practice of law. And so I always said I had 2 full-time jobs, especially post 9/11. Flying in the Guard, you flew all the time, training. So I was practicing law, flying. When I retired from the Guard in 2017, finally I got married. So that became my most important full-time job.
Absolutely.
So now my beautiful wife, Erica, and we have 3 kids, my 8 and 6-year-old daughters, Tessa and Becca, and then my 4-year-old son, Evan. So that's my full-time job and my most important job, and then practicing law.
Well, and I'll tell you, and then just, I've said it before, and I've told Pat Harrigan when I was in here, you know, a lot of it, you got to have the support of your spouse. That's what keeps everything grounded. They're the first one to defend you, first one to fuss at you, but the first one to defend you when things are wrong and will always advocate. So you got to have that strong network and being a dad as well. But, you know, you got 3. You could always, one more, like an even number.
So when we were at 2, our OBGYN said, you know, you guys, I'm no spring chicken. Maybe you ought to stop at 2. And I procrastinated on ensuring that would happen. And next
I
thing
knew
you know,
what you didn't stop. But go ahead.
So next thing I know, Erica was pregnant again, and my son. So now it's guaranteed we're not going to have a 4th.
Okay.
But,
well,
I have always heard from those that have multiple children that you're never a true parent till they have you outnumbered. Then you got to get very diplomatic.
Yeah. And they're strong-willed even at those young ages. It is amazing.
they are, and they do not miss a beat.
Yep.
Nor do they miss an opportunity. Having kids sometimes worse than politics because they don't forget a thing. And then if they, even if they think they'll try to convince you that you did forget what you know you didn't say. That's what I deal with now. So, well, Martin, one other thing, and we will get back because we probably need to get off of these kind of questions. But Bill had a question, or me, or I was going to tell Bill to ask. Okay, we seen Obama the other. We want to know did you ever see any aliens? You flew into these places because I knew you had flown into some cool places as you flew in the military.
So yeah, Iraq, Afghanistan, but I actually went out west for training, and we came back and landed in Roswell, New Mexico. And that's a big tourist town.
Oh, yeah.
You get alien dolls, you get,
100%.
fake spaceships. But I did not see an alien. So.
Okay.
Let down. We might as well go off there at 3:30.
Yeah, he's a military guy. He's not going to tell us anyway.
I
He's
got
sworn his secrets.
So, Martin, we're still, like I said, our segment's a little, but we still got about 4 minutes. So, and you were talking a little bit. Well, tell us a little bit about your background. I mean, your law, your family.
Yeah.
Now that you got into politics,
Yeah.
what made you think of that? And then we'll sort of circle back around some of the other stuff. But that's the biggest thing right now. We're in the season of that. So, tell us a little bit about your political aspirations or why.
So we had a judge resign. And
Yes.
so there was a vacancy. And the way that gets filled is the bar meets, sends 5 attorneys' names up there. And I was one of 5 to the governor.
By the bar.
By the bar, yep. They vote. And so our names went up. Governor Stein's rep interviewed all of us. There were 4 Republicans, 1 Democrat. He selected the Democrat, and that's it's understandable. These are partisan races.
Mm-hmm.
People like to say, and I've heard it said many times, judges shouldn't be partisan. You need a party. When you get in that courtroom, it doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat. So from that perspective, there are no politics in the courtroom. So you can't say, oh, it's unfair. I find most of the people that complain about it being unfair as far as the selection process are the ones that don't benefit from it. So Democrat,
And I can agree. I can agree. You know, no matter, I serve everybody.
Yep.
My job is serve everybody equally. Serve papers, arrest people equally. And you're right. It does go out the door because that's the good thing about our system. You can't just be loyal to the party. You got to be because you got to have all the people together to get elected.
Yep.
And that is a great point. Yeah, you can see party, and it's good to know sort of where people lean. But in the end, if you're fortunate enough to get this or the other candidate, there's both of y'all. I have faith that you will be judged for everybody, just like I try to be sheriff for everybody.
And I remember you, I'm sorry, sir, and I remember you one time in the conversation, somebody was giving you a hard time about partisan politics, and I love the way that you answered their question. You looked at him and go, we've never asked a political party when we say 911, do you need police, law, or fire? Mm-hmm. So I agree 100% with what both you gentlemen are saying.
It's difficult to run for office if you don't have a party that's behind you helping you. And the fact of the matter is, Republicans prefer Republican judges and Democrats prefer Democrats. They just tend to vote on party lines in that respect. So be that as it may, when you get in the courtroom, you're fair and impartial, and people expect their judges to know the law, to be fair, impartial, to hear cases, to treat everyone with respect. And that's what I've always done. and as a judge, I'll continue to do. And so when the vacancy came up, and then the governor appointed, when you get an appointment, you have to stand in the next election. So appointment for Jesse Connolly about 6-7 months ago, and this is the next election. And I told Judge Connolly, I said, whoever gets this appointment, I'm going to run against them because judges are elected. And so I'm running against them. And Judge Connolly is now a Republican, and so it's going to be decided in the primary. I mean, early voting's going on now to the 28th, and March 3rd will decide who takes office in January of 2027.
Well, both of y'all, I knew you a little, probably. Well, I knew you about the same. I've just known you a little bit longer. Or was talking about the show. I said, who do I know that's on there? Martin be one of them. And we'll say this, and both of you are very fine people. Both of you do a good job. Both of you are very experienced, and I think it does. You just got to see what do you think of the person. And one thing, and I'll say, and you're never going to get in trouble for telling the truth. Martin, I've seen you probably for the last 2 to 3. Well, always. I see you a lot of breakfasts on Sunday. I see you a lot getting out and see people or meeting people, and I think that's and you're very approachable. Not that nobody else is not. A difference between a judge and where you're at now makes it different, but we appreciate everything you done in the past, military, former judge, where you're at with us now, because we still work a lot, and that's what we going to get into here in just a little bit, how we work together. And but we've got to take a break, and we'll be back in about 15 seconds. Bill, you want to throw? And we'll be back in about 2.5 minutes.
Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for taking your time today to tune into The Good, the Bad, and the Guilty. We hope that something we say today can provide some education, possibly for the election, or if nothing else, to let you know how our judicial system runs here in Iredell County. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We'll be back in about 2 minutes.
Martin, I assume you can hear that. We've only got a little speaker. Thank you, CJ, for that music. That obviously was not Bill. That was more my keep flapping, Bill. Well, everybody, welcome back. Welcome back to the Good, the Bad, and the Guilty. Obviously, Martin Gottholm with us. Chief Bill Hamby, so far Chief.
Yes, sir.
And Sheriff Darren Campbell. And as always, listen to us on 1400 AM, 100.7 FM, 105.9, X, Facebook Live, the WSIC app. And please send us your comments. And Bill, we've got had a lot of good viewers listening today. I think CJ said, CJ, what did you say was up to at one point? 40. About 40-some people. And that's live views. That don't count across all social media. Awesome. It's just on what we can see on Facebook. So, Bill, it's your turn to start talking.
Well, folks, thank you so much for taking your time to tune in today. We do appreciate that. So, Martin, I was just sitting here during the break, and it dawned on me that I think I'm probably one of the few people that you have prosecuted my cases. You sat on the bench to hear some of my cases, and we've even had cases where we've gone against one another, you representing your client and me representing the state. So we always had fun. We've always been good. You were always respectful in all of your positions that you took. But being a prosecutor, being a judge, and being a defense attorney, how did those things prepare you for the position you hope to get elected to here in a couple weeks?
So I think having the perspective of all three positions is just absolutely invaluable. And I have the experience in my law practice of not just focusing on one narrow area. I've done every area that a district court judge will hear. So you've got criminal cases, and as you just said, it's a three-legged stool. You got to have good judges, got to have good prosecutors, good defense attorneys, and if somebody's found guilty, they've had a fair trial.
Right.
And they feel good about it. I mean, at least they should. They had their day in court, right? That the Constitution. Civil court for district court judges, 99% domestic family law, right? So I've done a lot and still do. I have cases pending now doing family law. And if we can get people to mediate or do some sort of alternative dispute resolution rather than battling it out in court, especially when it comes to child custody, you try to get those cases. And then the third is juvenile law. I got certified as a special additional training in Raleigh for judges when I was on the bench to handle juvenile cases where you've got the abuse and neglect for the parents that aren't meeting the standard, and then the delinquency for the kids that are getting in trouble. Then we have child support court. I was really proud of that because me and my four siblings were raised by my mom. And back then you couldn't chase somebody for child support. So when we had child support, if you remember, I started the weekend in jail program. Throw someone in jail for not paying their child support, they lose their job. She doesn't get anything, or he is.
That's
right.
Or if you pay an extra $20 a month for the next 20 years for your back child support, that doesn't accomplish much either. When they have to go to jail every weekend and work during the week, that is a powerful incentive.
That's a big motivator.
Big motivator.
100%.
So in back then it was a 4-county district. Now it's 2, Iredell and Alexander. But the head of the enforcement for child support would come up at the end of court and show me, this is the amount of money we collected today. She was so proud of that. And that made me feel good. So a great wealth of experience in my 32 years of practice in law and all those different positions of doing all these courts. And that's what I'll bring to the bench. And I'm looking forward to getting back on.
That's a great point, Bill. I didn't till you asked that, I didn't know all the different and all the aspects that you've served in the capacity through our system, juvenile, domestic, criminal, judge. I mean, just adds on to the military side if you've done that. You've been a busy person.
It's a life of service, and I am proud to have done it. And that's why I had to wait to get married. So when I finally met Erica, she married me, and then I got the family. And
well, you just waited on the best. That's what I said. You
that's
just
right.
waited.
That's
you just
right.
waited.
Anticipation.
So my 2 oldest are in ARS. What a great charter school. I'm on the board there.
Great
so
school.
I get to see a lot of the inner workings, and I couldn't be happier with that school. My youngest is still in preschool, as my other 2 were earlier at First Presbyterian, where my wife Erica teaches. So, and it's right down the street from where we live. So it's amazing. And then I also serve in the airport commission with all my aviation experience. So it's just a great town to live in.
So when do you sleep?
With
I knew you were busy. I'm like the sheriff. I see you at a lot of events when I go, but when do you sleep?
With 3 young kids, and they're finally getting a little bit older now to the
You
point.
better not curse it. I'm telling you. I'll hit the bell for that. You bet.
So I think chronic sleep deprivation is something you just learn to live with for the first 4, 5, 6 years of your children's lives. Right. And I need my sleep. So we're getting to the point now where it's getting better.
Well, that's a good thing. We've done it all. That's a good point. And another thing I want to say on the side of this, see, Bill and I was adding it up last week. We're not going to do the math again, but somewhere over 60-some years combined just with you and I. And I'll say, Martin, you, at least from your position personally, you've always been an advocate for law enforcement, and we appreciate it. And I could tell so many stories about when I was a dog handler. We had cases in front of Judge Gottholm at that time, and he did not mind giving punishment to the guilty. And I still think of some of those cases. That's a good place to be at.
Yeah.
So, Bill, what else you got? We got to talk a little bit longer there.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things where you talked about the defense side. A lot of times, a lot of folks get mad at defense attorneys. Well, they're just crooked. That's a vital function to serve, to make sure that the law is met, and like you say, that it was a fair trial.
Certainly. And the public would lose faith in our system if it wasn't. So, I've had people say, especially former prosecutors, when I first started criminal defense, how could you go over to the dark side? Well, once again, I come back to that three-legged stool. People deserve their day in court, their constitutional rights protected. Not everyone that gets charged, as you would know, is guilty or will be found guilty. So it's our system, and when people make fun of our system of justice, I say it's the greatest in the world. I've seen systems of justice in other countries I've been at. It is amazing. It is what keeps the fabric of our society from being torn apart, is having your day in court.
And that is a point. Everybody, there's not a doubt in my mind. You sort of said something. Everybody's not guilty. I know for a fact. Well, I can't prove it, but I about 99.9%. Everybody in my jail's not guilty of a crime, and they deserve to be heard, just like us. A lot of people don't understand that when there's an officer involved in a shooting, you're actually treated that way. You need somebody to advocate for your rights, as does everybody. So that's an essential part of our system. It's an essential part that works, and it keeps a lot of people from being wrongfully convicted and serve time, and it's a good thing. And there again, for us to say we've always had a good relationship, and we do have good relationships with a lot of defense attorneys, and that goes a long way. And that just gives more credibility to the way anybody be on the bench if they've served that way. What's the old saying? If your history is an indicator of your future, it's basically the way you'll be, and you've got a good one. So I don't know. I guess I'll say, taking the military out, what was the best part that you enjoy, even if it's what you're doing now, as far as in the criminal justice system? Which was the most? I know you say juvenile law and the child support, but what is probably give you the most joy that you feel you accomplished the most, that you've enjoyed, that you can bring to the bench?
So I enjoyed being a prosecutor. I could have just as easily been a career prosecutor, but when I ran for the bench, the amazing amount of how it affects people, the decisions you make, is extraordinary. Child custody decisions, without a doubt, the hardest decisions I had to make between good parents that couldn't agree. And I worked hard at it and just knew that I affected people's lives to an extraordinary degree. And when that happens, when people come up to you and say, I remember you from 15 years ago, and I have no idea, but the way you influenced my life, my child's life, it's amazing. And what an honor, and I'm humbled by it. So I'm so looking forward to doing it over again.
That's funny you say it today. I had an individual come into my office today and doing the same thing. They've got kids involved. It's two parents that obviously they still care about each other, but they can't stay together, but they're more worried about it for the kids. But as they do that, it's driving such a huge wedge. So those decisions you make on the bench, ultimately you hate, well, I'm saying good, you hate making I don't want to say bad decisions, you hate making decisions in general when you see problems other people's created.
Right.
But the joy and the satisfaction of long term in a child's life is unbelievably beneficial. It just helps so much. And we see it. We hear it a lot. We hear from cases we worked, hey, this at that time, he was a kid that's causing problems, but now that we've seen them and dealt with, they've grown up, they've got good jobs, they've got families of their own, and those do come back to I guess home's not the right word, but they come back on you, make you feel good about things you've accomplished.
Yeah, you remember those, Lord knows on our side, we see enough bad so that when you do get those good and you have that person come up to you in the grocery store, like you say, hey man, you've impacted my life, or you have that young child who after court would, if we were fortunate enough to win, will come up and give you a hug and say thank you because you took time to listen. You were the only person, you're the only adult that's ever listened to me and uncover all sorts of crimes and things that may have been occurring to that child. So So yeah, it's pretty powerful, all the positions that we have. Like you say, it's a three-legged stool, and I think that's a great analogy when you put it that way.
Y'all were about 10 seconds away. I've been interested in listening to Martin, but we'll be back for our last segment.
Already?
I know, 7 seconds left. So we'll be back about 2.5 minutes. We'll finish up some shopkeeping here.
Yes, sir. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in today. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in today to The Good, the Bad, the Guilty. Hope it's been a good show. We've covered a lot of ground today about the judicial system and flying helicopters and even a Joe Biden reference. So it's been a good day today. But we do appreciate you tuning in. For those of you that may just be tuning in, you got Sheriff Darren Campbell, myself, Bill Hamby. I have the fortunate job of being one of the two chief deputies at the Sheriff's Office, and Mr. Martin Gottholm, who is running for district court judge here in our judicial district. But on top of that, he's been a prosecutor and is now a defense attorney. So we thought it would be great to have him in to give everybody a kind of a holistic view of the judicial system, working with law enforcement in his various capacities. So thank you so much, sir, for taking your time today to educate our listeners. And
Martin, you're welcome to please stick around. But anything you want to say before you go off? We've got, well, you can't use the whole 10 minutes, but if you'd like to say something, because I got to respond to a comment here in just a minute. So
I'll let Martin. I'll finish up.
Okay.
Right at the end.
Okay, for y'all that don't know, Stacy is my other half, but she's just a hater. She's just mad 'cause she can't dance as good. So if y'all see the comment about don't let me dance to Snoop, she's just a hater. How's that, Big?
What do you think, CJ?
I'll get in trouble. I have the doors changed when I get home. I have the locks changed.
You got another one too. He can sing Snoop in a stairway.
That's got to be Brian Fink. Yep, I see it. We need to start cutting comments off, I think.
There you go.
I'm just kidding. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate everybody listening and responding. And so, all right, Martin, so if you want to wrap up your side and sit here with us, and Bill's got we got some shopkeeping to do here with work.
Yes, sir.
Certainly. I just want the folks out here in Iredell and in Alexander County, it's a two-county district, to know that I would be honored to get back on the bench and be a judge in your counties. I'll work hard at it. I've just got a wealth of experience that I'll bring to the job, as I did previously, and even more so now. So I look forward to your vote. We got the primaries going on now, early voting, through the 28th. We got 5 places in Iredell County that you can go in and vote. Board of Elections probably the closest for a lot of people. And then a couple places down in Mooresville. And then, of course, the primary is on March 3rd, and that's going to decide it. There will be no general election. If I prevail, I'll be the only name on the ballot in November and take office in January.
How many places in Alexander County for our Taylorsville and Stony Point?
One place, and
okay,
one. Yeah, CVCC, the college out there. So one place in Alexander County. We got 5 here, 2 in Mooresville, Lake Norman Fire Department, War Memorial. We got the Cat Center in Troutman. We've got the Board of Elections here in Statesville, and then we've got the American Legion in Harmony. So 5 places to vote.
Well, appreciate you coming on with us, and I appreciate you asking me a while back. Sorry it was so slow, but then, and then there again, we're open to anybody that wants to come on the show. Send us. This was a good thing. And Martin, we do appreciate your military service, your commitment to our community, and all that. So it does mean a lot. So we're glad to have you.
Thank you.
Now, sometimes he was available when somebody
I know I was
out
gone,
of
but
town, all your meetings at the Sheriff's Association, National Sheriff's Association, visits to Washington.
You was with me then.
For that one.
Well, hey, and it is, and we do want to say, you're right, you named off the dates, early voting and all that stuff, and listen, do your research. We got a lot of good candidates up and down the ballots. You just need to do your research, what sort of goes along with what your vision is for our future. Don't just listen to everybody. Do your research, read it. It's easy. There's not a lot. Obviously, this year, I'm blessed to be in the community. I'm not going to be on the ballot. A lot of people's asked me. I'm not.
Yep.
Neither is Renee Holland. Will not be on this ballot just because we don't have a primary and it'll be in the general. So, but definitely remember me come November. So, Bill, we've got a couple cool things.
Yep,
First, I do
now-
want to say one thing, Bill.
Go ahead,
Bill,
Otis.
this. We do want to say we made the tragic passing of Ron Duck White.
Yes.
I was former deputy with the sheriff's office for over 20-some years. When I was 17, Duck was one of the second. Marty Byers and Duck was the 2 that I rode with. And I lasted this long. Plus, I said it sort of in a Facebook post, he's the only guy I know that ever got struck by lightning 2 times.
2 times.
I don't even know anybody's got struck by once.
2 times, yeah.
But just remember his family and his kids, and that was a sad passing. So
Absolutely. Keeping your thoughts and prayers. And Martin, before I let you go, just want to say I want to thank you and all the candidates, every candidate that's running for every position, up and down the ballot. You take your time. You put your family on pause for a little bit, if you will.
Yep.
You put your reputation on the line. All of you, all the candidates do, and I think it's just a tremendous comment on your dedication and the other candidates' dedication to the community, to our state and our county, to put yourself out there to try to do good for our community. So thank you very much for that. I do appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome. It's been great. I've met a lot of great candidates out at the polls and at a lot of the meetings where I've heard them talk. So Iredell County is lucky to have just a wealth of good candidates running for these offices.
Yep,
we
absolutely.
do. We don't have the problems a lot of other people have. So
Yeah, no doubt.
also.
Well, Sheriff, you did say about some housekeeping, and I do want our listeners to know, there again, for our new listeners and our longtime listeners, our Iredell County Sheriff's Office Citizens Academy is up. The application process is now open. The class will start in March. It'll be 12 classes, Tuesday and Thursday nights, from about 6 to, we try to go about 8:30. Some of the classes do inherently go longer just because of what they are and the level of involvement that we have you. But you will get a chance to look behind the scenes. Sheriff, if you have, as you have said numerous times, what a great way for us to be as transparent as possible to let the citizens of Iredell County come in, see what their tax money provides, see and meet the deputies and detention officers and detectives with the sheriff's office. You're there at several meetings. So don't say, I can't find the sheriff, I can't talk to the sheriff. If you don't come to these classes, guess what? He's there.
Well, and
Why shouldn't you be?
And it does. It shows capability. It shows how we prepare. We use a lot of asset forfeiture money, buy specialized tools. A lot of that stuff, how we try to offset taxpayer dollars. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about how we've reduced crime by 57% in 10 years. Always got to get a plug. Same time, the growth is 24%.
Yep.
So we've done a good job, and we do it because we got good communities that help us. But also things like this. And Martin, if you hadn't heard, we do allow them to shoot guns in the system. We got one night. That's ride on the boat, shoot guns, go to the range.
Not at the same time.
Can be yeah, not at the same time. So, but yes, Bill, you got
We
them
need to get
dates.
CJ to come take our classes.
We should.
We'd love to have that.
And we got the Athletic League coming up. I know that we're
Athletic
back.
League has closed down.
Well, that's what y'all say. We get a lot of information.
We have had a couple trickle in, but we are over 450 Iredell County youth have signed up to take part in our Youth Athletic League. that's free to every child. It's free to every child. I know you want to give a shout out to the school system for working with us.
The board, the ISS board.
100%.
I know they do this. They help us very well with that, and Dr. James, and really the principals that help us. You got to remember, we got to have a place for those to practice. So we don't charge. So we try to let the school system open their doors to us, and it's been great to work with Dr. James. Has been nothing but a phone call away. Gina Cranford's over there helps us,
100%.
and I did not know it was over 450. This will be our biggest year. So that's about 30-some teams varsity, and about.
Had we not had the COVID year, we probably would have hit 450 before now. That really dinged us there for a couple of years, but just what a wonderful way for and a lot of people are like, well, Sheriff, why do you play volleyball in the spring? We don't want to interfere with and compete with the school time when they play volleyball in the fall and summer. So this is just a good way that if you have a volleyball player, they get a spring tune up. They have some, and these games are competitive. I mean, I'm telling you, when you see two teams getting after it, and last year, Sheriff, I think you and I were there. But the little, what we call the JVs, I call them the little ones.
Squealing little squirrels.
Just they are getting after it. I mean, it is just incredible to watch, and to watch the crowds and the family support. So I think it's a great thing.
Be a full house. Food trucks come out. We don't charge no admission. We don't charge nothing. The food trucks come out. You can buy food there. It's great food. We've got about 4 or 5 vendors that show up. We don't charge no admission. And there again, it's a great thing for the girls. And Bill, I said, sort of breaking in, we don't compete with the school because wintertime they're using gyms. When spring everybody wants outside, well, we reverse it.
Right.
So that's why we sort of use inside the gyms. And there again, it's 450. I cannot believe it.
It's going to be big. Darren mattered. In fact, we had to get some more volleyballs today.
I was going to say, how many volleyballs do you need?
UPS truck pulls up in boxes and boxes and boxes. I'm like, what are they doing? It's volleyballs.
And Martin, I'll tell you this, we keep hearing something, we couldn't figure out what the racket was. So finally Matt found out and told Dara, do you know how many balls you have to blow up? Because they're delivered flat. So they've got to blow up all these balls. So all I hear is it seems like a sewing machine factory in the back of the office. So, all right, Bill, what else?
Want to welcome our newest hire, Deputy Nolan Rowe. We're tickled to death to have him on board. He graduated Mitchell Community College, where he earned his associate's degree in criminal justice technologies. He also completed basic law enforcement training in December 2025 at Mitchell Community College. So Deputy Rowe is with us now. He is in his field training portion. He was assigned to our road patrol, and we are tickled to death to have him as one of our new hires.
New officer. We got to say, we got to give a shout out to our SROs. You know, last week
we got to give a huge shout out and give a warm blanket.
Well, we need to give some new legs because if you go on Facebook and look at what we're talking about is our school resource officer took part in the polar plunge today for the Special Olympics. Padilla, Deputy Starnes, Lewis, Welborn, Josie, and Kobe Gregory. So they did a great job. I've done the polar plunge before. I've done it twice. Were you with me? Mm-hmm. And it was like 20 degrees.
You into it.
Huh?
I talked you into it.
Yeah, I remember. And he taught me not wearing shoes. Next time I will wear shoes, full clothes to get in the water. I don't care what you say, it just feels warmer.
And the temperature was 20 degrees?
It was like 21. It was a cold.
The water was 34 degrees.
It was awful.
They had to run the pump the night before to keep it from freezing. Statesville Fire literally was on scene and was standing next to the pool with 3 or 4 hooks and some buoys in case people went out. It was
Martin, I'll go ahead and describe it.
It was the coldest I've ever been.
I told Bill, I went down there and stuck my foot in. I was going to see how cold it was. So that's fine. I went and stuck my foot in the water. Then I stepped on them aluminum steps. By the 3rd step, the water that was on my feet was already freezing. So I got up there and had to stand on my heel.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you get in that little chute and it's a dribble of water and it's cold. So, great calls.
And I do want to give out in just a few brief moments that we have left, a huge shout out to American Renaissance School.
Absolutely.
I know that we worked a case involving a young man not too long ago, a missing person that had some connections with ARS. And Mr. Duffy and his staff were more than kind and gracious enough yesterday to give us several snack baskets and things there. So as you say, sir, as a board member of ARS, thank you so much for that. Thank you to Mr. Duffy and all the folks there at ARS.
Thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.
Martin, thank you for coming.
Same time, we appreciate it.
It's a pleasure.
There again, anybody's interested in coming, get on the schedule, and we'll be glad to have them. So appreciate you coming.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to the Good, the Bad, and the Guilty today. Hope you have a wonderful day. Get out and enjoy some of this beautiful weather. And tune in next week. We'll have another exciting show, hopefully. Thank you so much for taking your time today. Bye-bye.